Tourism is meant to be about adventure and discovery, but sometimes it ends in tragedy. In this video, we'll explore 5 real stories of the worst deaths in the history of tourism. Incidents where vacations turned into disasters and lives were lost in shocking ways. It was September 19, 2019, in Tanzania, where 40-year-old Stephen Weber Jr. from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was on a vacation with his girlfriend, Kenesha Antoine. The couple was staying at the luxurious Manta Resort, located off the coast of Pemba Island. Their underwater cabin, costing $1,700 a night, offered stunning views of the ocean's marine life, making the trip an unforgettable experience. This wasn't just an ordinary getaway, it was meant to mark a special milestone in their 2-year relationship. Stephen, known for his adventurous and romantic spirit, planned a unique proposal. He wanted to surprise Kenesha with an underwater gesture of love. Equipped with a handwritten note sealed in a Ziploc bag and an engagement ring, he prepared to make the moment perfect. In the note, he said that he couldn't hold his breath long enough to express everything he loved about her, but that everything he loved about her grew more each day. On the other side of the note, he asked Kenesha if she would marry him. Inside the cabin, Kenesha eagerly awaited Stephen's arrival. She filmed the moment as he swam toward the cabin's window, laughing with joy and anticipation. Stephen held up the note, then flipped it to reveal his proposal, before pulling out the engagement ring. Moments later, he swam out of view, presumably to return to the surface. That was the last time Kenesha saw him alive. After some time passed, Kenesha realized something was wrong. Stephen hadn't resurfaced. Panicked, she tried to contact the resort staff, but there was no response via phone or radio. She flagged down passing boaters, who quickly arrived to help. Stephen's body was eventually brought to the surface, and he still had a faint pulse. Despite efforts to revive him through cardiopulmonary resuscitation, he didn't survive. Kenesha later shared her heartbreak on Facebook, conveying her grief and shock over the loss of Stephen Weber Jr. In her post, she described him as a beautiful soul and revealed that he never got to hear her answer, a resounding yes to his proposal. She also recounted their final days together, reflecting on how Stephen had expressed gratitude for the incredible, once-in-a-lifetime trip they had experienced. The tragedy left everyone shocked and bewildered. Stephen, an experienced swimmer with previous snorkeling experience, left his family struggling to understand how such an accident could have occurred. His sister, Mandy Hoffman, expressed doubts, wondering if there was more to the story and questioning whether other factors contributed to the incident. The Manta Resort released a statement confirming that Stephen tragically drowned while freediving alone outside the cabin. Weather and water conditions were reportedly calm, and the depth around the cabin was about 10 meters or 32 feet. The resort extended its condolences to Stephen's loved ones, describing the incident as a tragic accident. However, questions lingered. Why didn't Stephen, a strong swimmer, make it back to the surface? Could there have been an undetected issue? The resort's chief executive officer conveyed the staff's deep sorrow over the incident. Meanwhile, Stephen's friends and family reflected on his ability to bring joy to everyone he encountered. They remembered him as a genuine and loyal friend and found some solace in knowing his final moments were spent with someone he deeply loved. In the aftermath, Kenesha's tribute to Stephen garnered widespread attention online. She reflected on their deep, once-in-a-lifetime connection and the tragic turn of events that transformed what should have been their happiest day into their most devastating one. A GoFundMe page was created to help Stephen's family cover the costs of bringing his body back to the United States and for funeral expenses, raising over $17,000. The United States Department of State offered its condolences and assisted the family as they sought answers about what happened that day. To this day, the exact cause of Stephen's drowning remains unclear. His family is left with lingering questions. Was there an unforeseen issue, or was it a tragic accident? Could anything have been done to prevent it? Stephen's passing is a painful reminder to his loved ones of the fragility of life. Kenesha mourns the loss of the man she was about to marry while holding on to the memories of their shared joy. Though Stephen's life ended far too soon, his family and friends remember him as a loving and vibrant soul who left a mark on everyone he met. It was November 16, 2018, when 26-year-old John Allen Chow went on a mission that would change his life forever. A deeply committed American missionary, Chow had trained with All Nations International, a Christian organization, and was passionate about sharing his faith. His dream was to reach the Sentinelese tribe, an isolated community living on North Sentinel Island in India's Andaman Islands. They had lived in isolation for thousands of years and were known to reject any outside contact. Despite the risks, Chow believed it was his calling to introduce them to Christianity. Chow was no stranger to the Andaman Islands. He had visited the region in 2015 and 2016, learning about the Sentinelese during his travels. Unlike his earlier trips this time, his goal was more ambitious. He wanted to directly approach the tribe. The Sentinelese, believed to have a population of about 150, are fiercely protective of their isolation. They have consistently resisted outsiders, often reacting with hostility to any intrusions. Driven by his conviction, Chow meticulously planned his mission. He spent months preparing and learning about the risks. He hired local fishermen for $325 to take him close to the island, even though they knew it was illegal and dangerous. The tribe's hostility toward outsiders was well documented, and the Indian government prohibited contact to protect both the tribe and visitors. The fishermen, though reluctant, eventually agreed to assist him. On November 15th, Chow made his first approach to the island in a kayak, paddling alone while the fishermen remained behind. As he neared the shore, he greeted them by saying that his name was John and that he loved them, adding that Jesus loved them as well. The Sentinels responded by readying their arrows. In an effort to show goodwill, he offered them a fish. Despite this gesture, the tribe's hostility intensified, forcing him to retreat. Later that day, Chow tried again. This time he brought gifts, including a football and more fish. The outcome was the same. The tribe reacted with hostility and chased him back into the water. Frustrated but undeterred, Chow wrote in his journal that he felt scared but still believed in his mission. He questioned whether he should leave, but ultimately decided he couldn't abandon his purpose. On November 16th, Chow made his final attempt. Before heading to the island, he wrote a letter to his family, acknowledging the risks he faced. He asked for their forgiveness if anything happened to him, explaining that he believed his mission was worth the danger. In his letter, he urged his family not to blame the tribe or God if he didn't survive. As he approached the island, the fishermen waited offshore. They later reported seeing the Sentinelese attack Chow with arrows as he neared the beach. He was struck, and the tribe dragged his body away. The fishermen watched in horror, later recounting that the tribe appeared to bury his body on the beach. Indian authorities confirmed Chow's death but decided against retrieving his remains to avoid further conflict with the tribe. The incident sparked widespread debate. Many criticized Chow's decision, calling it reckless and irresponsible. His actions violated Indian laws designed to protect the Sentinelese from outside interference, including potential exposure to diseases they had no immunity against. Survival International, a human rights group advocating for indigenous tribes, condemned his mission, emphasizing the need to respect the tribe's wishes and isolation. Others viewed Chow's actions as a reflection of his deep faith. His family expressed forgiveness toward the Sentinelese and supported his belief in spreading Christianity. They released a statement forgiving those believed to be responsible for his death. For them, Chow's mission, though controversial, was seen as an act of sincere devotion. The fishermen who helped Chow were arrested for breaking laws protecting the tribe. However, the Sentinelese themselves faced no legal consequences, as their actions were viewed as a defense of their territory. The Indian government reiterated its commitment to protecting the tribe, maintaining strict no-contact policies and keeping the waters around North Sentinel Island off-limits. Chow's death raised important questions about the ethics of missionary work and the risks of contacting isolated communities. Many pointed to the historical devastation caused by outside interference in indigenous cultures, arguing that the Sentinelese had every right to resist outsiders. Critics stressed that Chow's actions, while well-intentioned, ignored the tribe's autonomy and cultural boundaries. For the Sentinelese, life continues as it has for thousands of years, untouched by the modern world. But for those who knew Chow, His story is a painful example of the fine line between faith and respecting others' way of life. Whether his mission was courageous or misguided remains a deeply polarizing topic. In the end, his tragic death forces us to reflect on the consequences of imposing our beliefs on others and the importance of respecting cultural differences. It was November 27, 2022, in San Andres, Colombia. Natalia Andrea Laranaga Fajardo, a 26-year-old from Cali, Colombia, was on a vacation she had eagerly anticipated. Known for her love of the water, she had come to enjoy the serene beaches and warm sun of this Caribbean island with her friends. That day, Natalia was in high spirits as she relaxed on Whitewater Beach, one of the island's most popular spots. In the afternoon, she and her friends spent time on a boat, soaking in the tranquil atmosphere. The day seemed perfect: calm waters, sunny skies, and joyful laughter. However, the events that followed would change everything. As the boat docked at the beach, Natalia realized her flip-flops had been left behind in the water. Without hesitation, she jumped back in to retrieve them, a simple act most wouldn't think twice about. Unfortunately, this decision would lead to an unimaginable tragedy. Unbeknownst to Natalia, a nearby boat carrying 24 tourists and 2 crew members was approaching. Its propeller was still running as Natalia swam toward her flip-flops. Tragically, she found herself caught in its path. The propeller struck her with devastating force. The scene was horrifying. Witnesses nearby watched in shock as the water turned red. Natalia sustained severe injuries to her legs, lower back, and hips. Amid the panic, she was pulled from the water and rushed to a nearby jet ski to get her to the hospital as quickly as possible. At 5:30 p.m., Natalia arrived at the State Social Enterprise Department Hospital of San Andres. Doctors immediately began working to save her, performing multiple blood transfusions and emergency surgeries. Despite their best efforts, the extent of her injuries made her survival uncertain. Natalia suffered cardiac arrest, but medics were able to revive her and placed her in the intensive care unit. Sadly, by the early hours of November 28th, her heart stopped again, and this time she could not be revived. Natalia passed away at just 26 years old. Following the incident, Colombian maritime authorities immobilized the boat involved. The 2 crew members were placed under investigation, a standard procedure after such events. Officials issued reminders about the importance of staying clear of moving boats and communicating with crew members when entering the water to prevent future accidents. A video of the accident surfaced online, showing the chaos and distress as the tragedy unfolded. The footage quickly went viral, sparking widespread shock and discussions about boating safety. Many were struck by how a simple action, jumping into the water for flip-flops, had such catastrophic consequences. This incident wasn't an isolated one. Just months earlier, a similar tragedy occurred in the Florida Keys. Juan Carlos Escote Alvarez, a 31-year-old Spanish-Venezuelan banker, jumped into the water to rescue his fiancée, who had fallen overboard during a fishing competition. While his fiancée survived, Juan Carlos was struck by the boat's propeller and did not survive. These heartbreaking events revealed the often overlooked dangers of boating and water activities. In response, authorities and safety organizations began emphasizing stricter safety guidelines, urging swimmers to stay away from active boats and raising awareness about the risks of boat propellers. These incidents underscored the need for greater caution and education to prevent similar tragedies. Natalia's death was deeply mourned by those who knew her. Photos shared on social media showed her enjoying a drink at the beach just hours before the accident. Her story tells us how quickly things can go wrong in the water. The investigation into Natalia's case continued, with the boat taken out of service and the crew members facing legal scrutiny. However, for many, the lingering questions remained. What if she hadn't jumped into the water? What if someone had noticed the approaching boat in time? While Natalia's story is heartbreaking, it also raises awareness about water safety and the importance of vigilance in crowded boating areas. Her untimely passing reminds us of the need to cherish life and prioritize safety in all our adventures. It was June 14, 2016, at Disney World's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa in Orlando, Florida. The Graves family from Elkhorn, Nebraska, was enjoying their vacation at the world-famous theme park. 2-year-old Lane Thomas Graves, a lively and curious child, was spending the evening by the Seven Seas Lagoon with his parents, Matt and Melissa, and his older sister, Ella. That night, Disney was showing Zootopia on an outdoor screen, and Lane was playing with other children in the shallow waters near the shore. It was around 8:30 p.m., a time when alligators were most active. As Lane bent down near the water, an alligator, estimated to be 7 to 8 feet long, emerged from the lagoon. The reptile likely mistook the small boy for prey and moved swiftly. The animal lunged and grabbed Lane, pulling him into the water. His father, Matt, just a few feet away, heard the splash and immediately jumped into action. He rushed into the water, trying to pull his son free from the alligator's powerful grip. Despite his desperate attempts to open the reptile's jaws and rescue Lane, the alligator dragged the child into deeper water and out of reach. A massive search effort began immediately after the incident. Disney staff, local authorities, and dive teams worked tirelessly throughout the night. After 17 hours, Lane's body was found 6 feet underwater, roughly 15 yards from where he was taken. The medical examiner determined his cause of death to be drowning and injuries caused by the alligator. In the days following the tragedy, Disney reviewed its safety measures. The company removed nearly 100 alligators from its properties, installed barriers around the lagoon, and placed new signs warning guests about wildlife dangers. A lighthouse statue was later erected near the lagoon as a tribute to Lane. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission investigated the incident and concluded that the attack was predatory. It occurred at dusk, a peak hunting time for alligators, and during the summer months when their drive for food is heightened. Although no swimming signs were posted around the lagoon, they didn't mention the presence of alligators. Reports later surfaced that guests had warned Disney staff about the alligator before the attack, but no immediate action was taken. For Matt and Melissa Graves, the loss of Lane was a heartbreak beyond words. They chose not to pursue legal action against Disney, despite receiving worldwide sympathy and support. Instead, they established the Lane Thomas Foundation to honor their son. The foundation supports families navigating the challenges of pediatric organ transplants, a cause close to the Graves family's hearts. Through this work, they aim to create a lasting legacy for Lane. They expressed their gratitude for the overwhelming kindness shown to them, acknowledging their daily miss of Lane and their efforts to make a positive impact in his name. Years later, Lane's story remains deeply impactful. It raises questions about whether earlier warnings could have prevented the tragedy. What if clearer signs had been posted? What if the family had been alerted to potential dangers? While these questions may never have answers, the memory of Lane reminds us of the balance between human activity and wildlife interactions. It was July 25, 2019, when tragedy struck a promising young life in the skies above Madagascar. Alana Cutland, a 19-year-old Cambridge University student, died after falling from a small plane into the dense jungle below. Alana had traveled to Madagascar for a solo research trip, aiming to study a rare species of crustaceans. What was meant to be an enriching academic journey ended in heartbreak. Alana was a second-year natural sciences student known for her intelligence, kindness, and adventurous spirit. From Milton Keynes, England, she was deeply passionate about nature and had a love for exploration. Her family and friends described her as bright, independent, and always eager to take on new challenges. The Madagascar trip was a testament to her determination, as she funded the research opportunity to pursue her interests. Her family admired her enthusiasm, describing how she embraced every opportunity with excitement and courage in a statement after her death. Alana's love for animals and science led her to a remote lodge in Anjajavi, where she planned to conduct a 6-week study. However, the trip took a troubling turn after just 8 days. During her stay, Alana began experiencing severe mental and physical symptoms. Reports suggested she became increasingly paranoid and disoriented, possibly due to the side effects of an anti-malaria medication she had been prescribed. Her family, deeply worried after several incoherent phone calls, urged her to return to England early. Alana's parents arranged for a private plane to fly her from Anjajavi to the capital, Antananarivo, where she would catch a flight back home. Accompanying her on the plane was Ruth Johnson, a family friend, and the pilot, Mahefa Tahina Rantoanina. On the morning of July 25th, the small Cessna aircraft departed carrying the 3 passengers. Shortly into the flight, the situation escalated. Alana, visibly unwell, unbuckled her seatbelt and attempted to open the plane's door. Both Ruth and the pilot struggled to restrain her. Despite their efforts, Alana broke free and fell from the plane at an altitude of 3,700 feet. The dense jungle below made immediate recovery efforts nearly impossible. Authorities launched an extensive search for Alana's body, fearing it might never be found due to the wildlife and challenging terrain in the area. Days later, a local tribe discovered her remains, bringing some closure to her grieving family. They expressed their heartbreak in a statement, calling her a bright and independent young woman, deeply loved by those who knew her. Investigations into the incident raised questions about the potential side effects of her medication. Doxycycline, the prescribed anti-malaria drug, is known to cause psychological side effects in rare cases. Her family believed the medication triggered a severe reaction, which ultimately led to her actions on the flight. Alana's uncle, Lester Riley, explained that Alana was incoherent in her last phone calls, and they believed she suffered a severe reaction to the drugs. The tragic event also showed the psychological strain Alana faced during the trip. Though passionate about her work, the isolation and pressure of the remote environment may have compounded her distress. Her family's efforts to intervene were limited by distance, leaving them reliant on phone calls to support her. The aftermath of Alana's death raised awareness about the potential mental health effects of certain medications, particularly for young travelers. Her family emphasized that her actions were not intentional, but the result of an overwhelming medical condition. Alana's passing left her family and friends devastated. They remembered her as a vibrant and talented individual with a deep love for life and learning. Her death is a reflection of the challenges of mental health and the need for vigilance when managing the side effects of medications. Alana's story, though deeply tragic, underscores the importance of supporting travelers facing unexpected struggles and ensuring their safety.